Namaste. Myself Triveni Khurana, Assistant Professor, Faculty Physiotherapy and Diagnostics JVN Rajasthan. Today we are going to discuss physiotherapist as an entrepreneur or how to start up a physiotherapy practice. There are some points under consideration while you practicing physiotherapy practice. These are: research your target market, establish your patient profile, qualifying as a physiotherapist, standards of practice keep in mind, decide what service to offer, precising policy, promote your business and buy an existing business. Now, how many types of physiotherapy business are there? These are owner of physiotherapy clinics, owner of health and fitness clubs, owner of physiotherapy and slimming center, owner of allied health clubs, owner of physiotherapy equipment agencies, owner of rehabilitation center or physiotherapy hospital, owner of physiotherapy outsourcing company, owner of private physiotherapy clubs attached to sports academy or athletes, owner of community physiotherapy care clubs or agencies. Now, one by one we all discuss these. First, practical considerations and practice building behavior regarding any of the business you want. All employees working with a physical therapy environment must be aware that their conversations and actions might offend patients, other healthcare providers, and visitors to the clinic. So, therapists need to respect the fact that comments casually made might be acceptable to the intended recipient but might at the same time offend someone else. For example, the physical therapist who makes an offhand and ribald comment to another therapist might be unaware that an aide was within earshot. If those inappropriate comments offended the aide, they were the type of comments that would offend a reasonable person in a similar situation, then aide could bring a complaint of sexual harassment. Access to the internet and electronic mail pose additional problems for physical therapists, manager. Everyone who has access to the internet or email should be cognizant of what is being sent and received. Sexually charged talks, explicit pictures, and personal comments do not belong in the workplace even if the sender assumes that they are being sent through secure channels. Rather than deciding to live and work in a sterile environment, physical therapists must take responsibility for their actions and show respect for others. Physical therapist managers should develop a zero tolerance policy when it comes to telling inappropriate jokes and engaging in sexual recording. All providers should ensure that conversations stay on a professional level. Now, there are some points when dealing with complaints. All physical therapy practices, large or small alike, should have a formal written sexual harassment policy in place. This policy typically is located in the employee handbook or the policies and procedures manuals. Example of its sexual harassment policy was adopted from a sample policy created by State Bar. Physical therapist managers can use this policy as a template for their own practices. Now, investigating allegation of sexual misconduct. Allegations of sexual misconduct or harassment can have a chilling effect on an institution or business, including a physical therapy practice. Many managers and supervisors will listen to the complaint and then attempt to either deflect the complaint or minimize the alleged behavior. Dealing with these types of complaints may be personally disturbing, but it is vital to the employer-employee relationship and the overall success of the business. The prompt investigation of the alleged inappropriate demonstrates that management takes these types of complaints seriously. Prompt and complete investigations and promote quick resolution. Complaints that surface months and years later are difficult, if not impossible to investigate. Delayed investigations of current complaints produce the same results. As previously noted, the investigation should be undertaken promptly, usually within 2 or 3 days. The investigator can be a supervisor, manager, human resource employee, or a third party with no connection to the business. As a general rule, more than one individual within a practice should be designated to take complaints. The investigator should assure employees that confidentiality will be protected to the extent possible, while noting that at some point in the time the respondent will have the right to face their accuser. At a minimum, the investigator must interview the complainant and the respondent. The investigator should make every effort to identify and interview witnesses as well, by asking the complainant to write down everything that had occurred. Investigator will not only document the complainant's version of events but also help the complainant achieve catharsis. The report of the investigator should be dated and signed by the complainant and then reviewed and signed by witness. Employer should encourage employees to report any harassment to manage before it becomes severe or pervasive. Even in the absence of complaints, managers should take every step possible to correct behavioral deficiencies. The sexual harassment policy should make it clear that the employer will tolerate neither harassing behavior nor retaliation against those who complain or participate in an investigation. The degree to which the written documents of the practice describe the rights and duties of the physical therapist, the physical therapist assistant, department, technician, and other staff members, as well as how those rights and duties are handled by employees, constitutes the level of formalization in the practice. The level of formalization gives authority to those who hold superior positions within the organizations, such as physical therapy manager over a staff physical therapist. An organization chart provides a visual depiction of superior or subordinate position within the organization. However, the chart may not be best way of determining individuals responsible for making operation and planning decisions. All physical therapy practice have a hierarchy of authority with which to make decisions. Centralization is a term used to describe the degree to which the top administrator has control over decision making for planning and operations. A highly centralized organization is sometimes referred to as top-down administrator, in which upper administrators make decisions and delegate responsibilities to subordinates. Whereas in a decentralized business, employees are divided into operating units in which a team leader or unit manager is responsible for planning and controlling operations. Instances: in large hospital, a physical therapist may be designated the orthopedic team leader or the manager of industrial physiotherapy therapy and given specific supervision, operations and planning responsibilities. This person is accountable to Department of Director. The degree to which there is a differentiation of integration, the work depends on specialized knowledge needed to perform the essential function of a job. More complex tasks may require greater specialization of knowledge and skill to adequately complete the task. Occupational specialties require those responsible for completing the complex tasks to have specific qualification and competencies, such as being licensed as a physical therapist. This differentiation by qualification results in what Max Weber termed division of labor. Ideally, the division of labor leads to greater efficiency in production and outcomes. Nonetheless, efficiency may also be improved by integration of general tasks into the duties of those who are identified as having the time and capabilities to accomplish the less specialized tasks. One type of integration of duties used in the healthcare is referred to as cross-training, more prevalent in rehabilitation facilities, home health agencies, and services for children. Cross-training can enable a physical therapist or other health professionals to screen patients in need of referral to another discipline or provide an adequate level of care to meet patient needs without multiple discipline involvements. However, conflict can arise when scope of practice issues are breached or cross-training encroaches upon the specialized knowledge viewed as unique to a specific discipline. Example: physical therapist fabricating a splint could anger an occupational therapist. conversely, an occupational therapist evaluating gait could anger a physical therapist. Such a reaction may occur regardless of competence of the individual performing the task. Within a physical therapy practice, differentiation and integration of duties should be regulated through a degree of formalization. The complexity of relationships among superiors and subordinates has a profound impact on productivity, efficiency, and job satisfaction. A bureaucratic organization feature an impersonal orientation to intrapersonal relationship and interpersonal relationship within the organization. Decisions are perceived as having a basic and well-defined roles, policies, procedures, rules, and regulations. Although informal lines of communication do have a significant impact on relationships and outcomes, more formal lines of communication minimizes energy. In a more bureaucratic organization, a high-power differential exists and results in relationships in which those in authority are expected to delegate tasks and those who are subordinates are expected to follow the direction of supervisor. A more open system has a fewer constraints on relationships and a lesser power differentiation. With a lesser power differentiation, there may be a greater degree of collaboration among superiors and subordinates in decision making, which can either create a more collegial atmosphere with greater autonomy or produce more conflict through subordinates challenging the authority of superiors. Consider the relative advantage and disadvantage of open and closed designs in relation to organization structure and the need for appropriate individualized balance within an organization. Formalization within a physical therapy practice could either improve efficiency or create administrative red tape. The classic bureaucracy is criticized for its relative unresponsiveness to change, while strict organizational rules and regulations result in clear standards for official conduct, uniformity of application, and relative stability. Such rigidity may lead to individual and collective goal displacements. It is uncommon to hear physical therapists complain about the amount of time required for documentation or meetings that take away time from patient care. Likewise, specialization and division of labor produce experts in focused fields, which is of great importance in clinical physical therapy. However, specialization may lead to diminished general competency and boredom. Formalization and specialization can result in a career orientation, which can be strong incentive for employee loyalty to the organization. However, the career orientation doesn't inherently enhance productivity. The impersonal orientation of bureaucracy can reduce the complexity of relationships and foster equitable treatment of all workers. But there is also the risk of creating a sterile environment with low morale. Power struggles may still develop therein. The centralized hierarchy of organization authority maximizes coordination within the organization but often has incidental disadvantage of decreased communication. Decreased communication typically results when employees do not view superiors as accessible, approachable, or responsive to concerns. Also, the importance of informal communication networks may be shortchanged. A decentralized decision-making structure may result in better decisions because managers are closer to the operations, can anticipate and react quickly, and the structure builds the leadership skills of employees. However, decentralizing decision-making authority can negatively affect the practice because managers or teams leaders may not adequately assess how decisions affect other divisions or the company as a whole. Moreover, there is a greater potential for duplication of duties, tasks, and initiatives if there is a lack of communication among teams or units. Complicating the issue is the fact that the status of physical therapy practice, regardless of whether it is in hospital setting or private practice, is often modified by macroeconomic or microeconomic crisis. A recession or a change in healthcare delivery paradigm, such as the change from free or fee for service to managed care, reimbursements, and potential for pay for performance initiatives in the future will affect the organizational structuring of the business. An organizational structure may also change as a result of internal crisis, such as the sudden loss of a leader, a buyout from larger stakeholder, or pressure to maintain a share of market with stronger competitions. Nonetheless, the physical therapy practice that is efficient, effective, and adaptable in serving patients and able to effectively work within the constraints of organizational goals, competing demands, technological advances, and ever-changing healthcare environment will be successful. The art and science of a stable organization structures relies on efficiency, effectiveness, and adaptability. Now we are moving towards the patient access to physiotherapy services. There are several different ways that healthcare is delivered in India. It can be public, private, or mixture. What is public? There are different schemes and policies which offer a cover or physiotherapy under them. What is private? In India, if a health insurance policy offers cover for outpatient department or daycare procedures, then physiotherapy is covered under it, even if it is not linked to a surgery. Therapist contact. Therapist can act as a first contact practitioner. A patient can have direct access to physiotherapy. Direct access means a person can refer themselves to a physiotherapist without a referral from another health professional. However, in India, physiotherapist is measured a second contact profession. This is a lack of awareness regarding health education and physiotherapy profession. However, the condition is improving in recent years. What are the various options for working in private practice? There are many different options for working in private practice, from treating the occasional patient to setting up a new practice. The many choices are treating the occasional private patient, working as a support worker in private practice, becoming a partner in an existing practice, purchasing an existing practice, and setting up a new practice. Thank you.